What's up, everybody? This is Isaiah Sharkey here with Guitar Center, checking out the Fender 70th Anniversary American Professional II Stratocaster. As soon as I opened the case and checked out the guitar, I immediately noticed the aesthetics. Such a beautiful guitar. I love the flame maple Comet burst. Very, very nice looking guitar. And picking the guitar up, I immediately noticed too that the neck fit right in my hand. So it was like super comfortable. I noticed that the edges were rolled really, really nice and evenly balanced. Great fretwork, easy to navigate around the guitar neck. And yeah, it's got really nice, tall, narrow frets on it. And yeah, it's just super comfortable. Of course, as a guitar player that finds myself in all different types of situations, having to play, Les Pauls, 335s, SGs, Tellys. With the Strat, just factory, just like straight out the box, you get all of these different tones. With a traditional Strat, you'll get 5 different tones, you know what I mean? Including any bells and whistles, it's just straight up different tones. Your neck position, you have a nice warm tone. And if you want it warmer, you can bring back the tone, knob. What I found with Strats is I'm able to achieve a lot of different tones without having to switch so many guitars. And for me as a professional guitarist, that's super important, especially when I'm going on the road or if I'm going to session. I say, what guitar will do the trick for most things that I need? And I never really go wrong with the Stratocaster. For me, the ideal Strat tone is a straight up Strat coming through a Fender Twin. If not a Fender Twin, a Fender DeVille. And then, studio wise, I really love using the Strat with the Princeton, all of which are very clean tones, and you can get even more so with the DeVille and the Princeton, a little more breakup. But you don't lose the character and the clarity of the Fender Strat, and you can get, again, you can get the warm tones, but you can also get the real clear, jangly, bright tones too, Okay, so when I'm playing a Strat and I go to the neck position, I immediately think and go for that warm but clear, tone where I can do some jazz if I wanted to. If I roll off the tone a little bit, I can achieve some jazz tones. If I'm playing R&B, classic R&B or neo soul or even gospel, where I'm doing a lot of chording, quartet music, I immediately hear the neck position. I love when I'm playing in the neck position and I can really get a response from the guitar. With some instruments, they're just pretty instruments, right? Some instruments, they look good. They're built all really nice and stuff, but there's something when you find an instrument that responds to your playing how you want it to. And one thing I notice immediately is the ability to have dynamics when I'm playing. If I'm striking a note, it's popping out. It's not cutting out on me. it's still clean, still fat, and still clarity. The cool thing about a neck position also on a Strat is that you can throw a little dirt on there, a little overdrive, and you can still get the clarity, you can still get the fullness, and you can go bluesy. I'll show you what I mean. And cut on a little overdrive. I think the Strat lends itself really well with the blues. Because when you're trying to achieve, whether it be a more, Albert King type, Stevie Ray Vaughan type guitar sound where it has that brightness, but it also has the warmth. You can achieve that because, by having single coil pickups and the versatility of the tone knobs, where you can roll off the tone ever so slightly. It gives you that warmth. But at the same time, if you want to change pickups and still have that drive for the blues, you can still get that. And you can make it really bright, depending on how you dial in your tone, without touching the amp, just a guitar, or rolling it back. That's a true sign of something, an instrument that's versatile and can give you pretty much what you need. And I love that. I need that. We need that. One of the things that stuck out to me as I was just playing my bluesy type fills and improv on the guitar, I noticed that no matter how far I bent up, and when I was ready to bend, it was there, it felt good, it was easy to bend. But not only that, when I got back down to play some chords, it was still in tune. And that's saying a lot, because having a bridge that has a 2-point bridge and then you bending and you using the trim to push down on it and, it's still in tune, that's pretty remarkable. And I think one thing that helps with this guitar is, of course, the way it's built, but then also the locking tuners, the stock locking tuner by Fender. I think it's super stable. One of my other favorite positions on the Strat, which is used on tons of records in history, is the neck and middle position, the fourth position. And you can hear it on a lot of earlier records. I mean, even now still, but like a lot of records that I grew up on, like Luther Vandross records and 80s pop records, when you have like the crazy modulations and all that stuff, a lot of people are using that neck and middle. So check it out. In the fourth position with the neck and middle, you can still play chords. You can still get a nice clean tone, but you can get a really percussive, spanky type, sound that works really well for recordings if you're doing a lot of rhythmic playing, single line stuff, double stops. And it cuts well in music and been proven over so many records, right? So I love using that when it comes down to the rhythm. It's not too heavy, it's not too bright, it's right in the middle. So very usable tone. The neck in the middle position is very, very useful, and it's really, really effective when you're playing rhythmic guitar. You know, it gives you that nice, spank, clean, percussive sound without being too harsh, without being too like full, without being too bright, just enough to cut through if you're recording or if you're playing with a band. It's been proven on so many records, right? That tone is a very, very classic tone, and you can still play chords. If you put a little modulation on it, you can get kind of the 80s, soft rock tone. You know what I mean? You can get that Prince, Purple Rain type thing, even though you're still playing a Strat. It's still very versatile. That's the neck and the middle position. To me, that was one of the most classic tones, particularly in the 80s, dealing with pop music, soft rock music. I think that tone was just so special. It's like playing a DX7 or a Dino Rhodes, right? With a chorus, very classic sound. You hear the chorus, but you still know that that's a Fender Rhodes, right? Same thing with a Strat. In that position, you can tell the sound of the guitar. Growing up in church as a PK, some people don't know, as a preacher's kid, I grew up listening to all of the gospel records and, all of the classic records from, Andre Crouch in the 70s, James Cleveland, the Clark sisters, all the way up into the Hawkins and Donald Lawrence, all this, contemporaries. And one of the guitarists that I grew up admiring was Jonathan DeBose. And he played on pretty much all of those artists' albums that I named. And his thing was the middle position on the Strat. And he really made it sing. A lot of times I've heard guitarists, they really gravitate towards the fifth position, fourth position, second position, and, the first position. But when I heard Jonathan playing, he was playing the middle position and he really made it sing. The way that the middle position pops out, it's like very balanced, very even sound. It's literally the center of what you get out of a Strat. I'll show you an example of what I mean. When I first met Jonathan DuBose, one of the first things I said to him was like, first of all, you're incredible, dude. Like, your vibe is bad business, you know what I mean? You're the dude. My second question was, why the Strat? And why the middle position? And he told me, and he talks like this, you know, well, it cuts through everything. And it's true. I went back and listened to all the recordings, and his guitar parts always stuck out. That's one of the first times I really heard it, and it had a great effect on me. So shout out to the middle pickup and Jonathan DuBose. When I hear gospel music, even with distortion sound, the middle position, you know, it really sticks out for me. And that's how I got introduced to that particular sound. You know, it's very specific in my mind. When I'm soloing with my band, I go to the middle position, and I put like a nice overdrive or distortion on, depending on how hard I want to hit it. With this particular example, I played more of a kind of a middle ground, you know, distortion, you know, but not too heavy, with a delay right after it, you know, so that I can get those trills, and a little bit of extra reverb to give me some texture. And you know, the cool thing about using that tone and playing a guitar like this is that you can literally shape and mold the sound as you're going along. With me, I like to use both, you know, the pick and my fingers, because you get different textures. That requires an instrument that responds a certain way to your fingers and to the pick. And sometimes it's a little dancing around as far as your fingers are concerned, but to get different tones and different textures, it just, the strings, the neck, the frets, the guitar itself can respond many different ways, depending on how you utilize the tone knobs, how you use the volume. You know, at the end of the example, when I had the distortion on it, I rolled off the volume just a little bit so I could get a little less grit, and I can get a little more clarity and control over the tone that I'm going for. So, you know, again, it all goes back to being flexible and having a versatile instrument so that you can express yourself the way you need to. When I was playing with the Isleys, I found myself on the middle and bridge quite often, because, you know, I had to learn all of that music, and, you know, I got a chance to ask questions. And of course, Ernie Isley is a Strat player too, so he utilizes all the positions. But rhythmically, on the funk side, I dig the middle and bridge. I'll show you what I mean. The middle and bridge position It's got that spank, it's got the cut, it's got the pop, the slap back, you know, from the guitar, you know, natural slap back. I'm not talking about delay, I'm talking about the response of the guitar, the response of the pickups. You can get all of those different flavors, man, you know, that you hear on those classic records, you know, the Earth, Wind & Fire records. Man, it's just so many records, you know, Group Pleasure, Average White Band, all of these different groups. If you want to go for some good rhythm, you want to hear some nice get down, spanking, shanking type of rhythmic guitar sounds, go to the middle and the bridge position. There's some situations where I've played with some artists and I was able to use that same position, playing some textural ambient sounds. And I'll give you a demonstration. Right now I got my pedal set up where I have a little bit of overdrive and a couple different delays and reverb on it. And you can just see how it even works with textures. So let's give it a listen. It's really cool that you can get so much out of one position on this guitar. So imagine if you're playing with a band that's super versatile and they got this crazy tune that you got to jump from one sound to the next. That super funky tone like we talked about before with all the spank and the clear, clean sound with sometimes a little bit of modulation here and there, and then jumping to a whole nother section where you got to use, you know, delays and reverbs and all of this like lush, plush sounds. You can keep the same pickup position and you're good to go. Nothing to think about too much. Just a couple taps here and there on the pedal and your guitar is already doing the work, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about having a confidence in your instrument and the versatility that you can have. So that's a couple examples of the neck and bridge position. When I think of the bridge pickup, I think of a few different things. I think of some blues stuff. I use the bridge quite often when I'm thinking of Steve Lukather from one of my favorite groups of all time, Toto. Steve is one of the most iconic session players amongst the others, you know, like Cornell Dupree and Al McKay, and list goes on and on and on and on, right? But Steve Lukather, watching him play, you know, a Strat type guitar and using it in the bridge position always struck me as like just balls to the walls, big rock sound, heavy and cutting through, but still warm and fat. So, you know, when I think of Overdrive, I think of him. I think of Yngwie Malmsteen. I think of Frank Gambale from Electric Band with Chick Corea. So I'll give you a couple of demonstrations of that. getting that sound, you can really you can hear the high end, depending on how you set your amp, and of course your pedal. With that tone, I was just full out everything, you know. The volume was all the way up, the tones was full out, and it's just straight, pure, you know, bridge pickup. It's chunky, it's fat, it's dirty. That's the sound you want when you want to really, really dive and dig into your rock or distortion type solo playing. I did a dive bomb right at the end of that example. And a lot of times we talk about these super strats and we talk about like, oh, you know, it's an enhancement of a Stratocaster. But with this particular Strat, the Professional II, when I did that, went all the way down, even an octave lower than the low E, and still in tune. So keep that in mind when you play this guitar. You don't have to worry about the tuning. You know, between the great craftsmanship of the bridge as well as the tuning knobs, the locking tuners, it's doing what it needs to do. You can kind of get that surfy tone if you want to. Still in the bridge position. I rolled off the tone just a little bit, just so you can get a nice in-between sound, but it still got that brightness, still got the sparkly mid-range tone to it, that quacky sound, with a little bit of grit and some vibrato here out of the twin. You can do so much with the bridge pickup. If you're looking to achieve getting a tele sound as well as a player, you can achieve that sound with the push on the Professional II, on the second tone knob. And what this allows you to do is to cut on the neck position in the bridge or the first position, as well as the bridge and middle or the second position. So that way you get the outer tone here, just like a Telecaster. See? The neck and the bridge, if you're in the first position. I'll give you an example of that. So you can hear what that bad boy does. In the first position, you have, again, the neck and the bridge. If you're on a gig and you had to choose a guitar, you know what I mean? And you said, I need all of these other tones, but I also need a tele. Well, what are we missing when we have a Strat, a standard Strat? You know, the traditional Strat has just the 5 positions. But with the Professional 2, you activate the push-push, and now you can activate these 2 outer pickups, which will give you that whole telly thing. And so, you know, if you dig that, if you want to get your Danny Gatton on, your Brent Mason on, you know, the Professional 2 will do it for you. One more final tone on the Professional 2 Strat, and that is the bridge, neck, and middle all together in the second position. So when you have this push-push up and you put it to the second position, you get all 3 pickups. So not only are you getting in the normal position where you have just the middle and the bridge, now you have activated the neck with it. And you can get some really clean tones. The tones remind me of like the classic tones I would hear on a Prince, you know, record. So I'll show you what I mean. So you can hear the clarity of all 3 pickups. I mean, it's just an extra tone, man. I mean, it's like, it's literally every pickup, you know, together. So you got an even, like, straight balance. EQ-wise, it's just straight balance. It's not too bright. It's not too warm. It's just another tone that you can have fun with and experiment and push your creativity to another level. Overall, the Professional 2, 70th anniversary Fender Strat, it's a workhorse. It's a beast. Stays in tune, you know, and you can get everything you need out of it. If you want to learn more about the Fender 70th Anniversary American Professional II Strat, you can go online at guitarcenter.com. You can call one of their expert gear advisors or pop into any local GC store.